Hey everyone, it's Bennett Forrest, your fantasy football commissioner, with the Week 5 weekly recap of the ForrestLand MishMash Fantasy Football League. Once again, no good excuse for being late, other than I've just been very busy. But I promise you, it is not because my team sucks, which my team does suck. But that's not the reason for the late update. But anyway. And it just goes to show that even though I had a miserable fantasy football week, last week was the first weekend of the year that I was actually home at 1 o'clock watching the early games, and I was in heaven. So my team sucks, but it's still fun to do fantasy football and watch football on a Sunday. So let's get right into the action. We had a real nail biter that came down to Monday night. The Travelers and Cartel were basically going back and forth all Sunday. You could see the Travelers, both teams scored a lot of points, very consistent, all up and down. I have to say David Johnson, I was very skeptical about being him a top 5 pick this year in the draft, but he's been excellent. I believe he's leading the league in rushing or right up there. First 100-yard game, but very consistent, and obviously having 5 touchdowns helps. I believe he's also had some receiving success. So that was a great pickup by the Travelers. And, obviously, Randall Cobb getting 20 points and Derek Carr. Derek Carr is great. I watched a lot of the late games. Just a very exciting player to watch, and Oakland's a very exciting team. That being said, it did come down to Monday night, a game which I heard was completely sloppy. I didn't watch it. I was actually watching baseball. But I was told that it was a completely sloppy game. However, the Cartel had Jameis Winston and Mike Evans combo, which is proving to be really good there. So even though there was only 17 points scored in the game, when you have a quarterback and a wide receiver, and that wide receiver gets one of the couple touchdowns along with a lot of other yards and points, obviously that adds up. So that 15 from Winston and 20 from Mike Evans was enough to get the 6-point victory for the Cartel. They increased their record to 2-3, and the Travelers fall to 3-2. I already mentioned my game. The Slim Aussies just having trouble scoring. Aaron Rodgers, I have to say, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he is not consistent. I did watch some of the game on Sunday night. I had it on the second screen while I was watching the debate. And every time I look up, Rodgers is missing a pass. He's overthrowing, and I just don't understand what's wrong with him. But it's just not happening. Brian Hoyer's been a nice pickup with Carson Palmer being hurt. But as you can see, just running backs killing me. DeAndre Hopkins had some late garbage points, but Brock Osweiler just sucks. I watched a lot of that Houston game, and it was nice to get a late garbage touchdown from Hopkins. But and as far as Brock Osweiler, I didn't think he was going to be lighting it up, but I thought he would be serviceable. But every time I look up when I watch Houston on the Red Zone channel, they're just doing nothing. Their offense is just pathetic. So a couple garbage points from Hopkins, but not much else. Matt Jones, Mr. Inconsistency, got 5 points. Tyrod Taylor missed a bunch of open looks to Robert Wood, who should have had a lot more points. And just like with the Green Bay offense, the Giants offense is like, what the hell's going on there? They have all these skill players, and they just can't score any points. So not a good week for the Slim Aussies. The Stallions, however, do pretty well. Just like with Sterling Shepard not doing well for the Giants, neither does Victor Cruz do anything. But Greg Olsen on Monday night, again in a sloppy game, but he had, I believe, 9 catches. Whoops. Olsen, I think, had 9 catches for 181 yards. So again, just because your team in real life doesn't score any points doesn't mean you can't get any fantasy points. So very mediocre day for the Stallions as well, but they get the win. They're 3-2. They have a winning record. Slim Aussies just not scoring any points. They fall to 1-4. Another tough luck team is Mandarino, who actually their one win was against the Slim Aussies in Week 1 and then haven't won since. Definitely suffering from the Eli Manning thing. Fitzpatrick hasn't been good either, and just very similar to the Slim Aussies, just not a lot of production from their running backs. The people you expect to be good, like A.J. Green, just aren't doing much. And obviously 106 points is not going to get it done. Meanwhile, the Colon Cleansers are 3-2, and they've got the Roethlisberger combo. I believe they had. I'm sorry, just Roethlisberger. I thought they had Antonio Brown too, but Roethlisberger is just what you'd expect. He's getting tons of points. He's staying in the pocket. Tyrod Taylor's been respectable, and Fitzgerald just continues to be great, even with backup quarterback in. Fitzgerald had a great night Thursday night. So 161 points for the Colon Cleansers. They go to 3-2. Mandarino again, tough luck at 1-4. We have injury risk, continuing the success from the week before. They've won 3 in a row to go to 4-1. Le'Veon Bell, Jordan Howard. That was a great pickup for Chicago. You can see 2 weeks in a row with over 100 yards, and it's only a matter of time before this guy gets in the end zone. So you'll take 25 points without a rushing touchdown all the time. Obviously, Martellus Bennett with a big comeback week for Tom Brady with 30 points. T.Y. Hilton is the one receiver on the Colts that's doing anything. So tons of points. You'll take 194 points every day. Pretty good week for Doreen and third and Oolong, but not quite enough. Rivers, as always, gets tons of garbage time points. Ezekiel Elliott's been awesome, and DeMarco Murray having a big comeback year. I had him last year for the Eagles, and he was terrible. But he's having a really quietly nice year for the Titans. You can see he's got 3 touchdowns, almost 4 100-yard games, but 2 with a couple close calls there. So DeMarco Murray's having a good comeback year. And pretty good point scoring day overall, but just not enough to defeat injury risk, who is 4-1, 3 in a row. And I believe we have one other game to talk about. We have the Baltimore Riot in Graceland, and of course having Tom Brady in was great. You knew he was going to score points against the Browns in his comeback game. So that was pretty much expected there. And just pretty consistent all around with Devontae Freeman. Nice pickup. Terrell Pryor even had 9 points. Crabtree had a light day. He's been really hot this year. You can see he's got tons of touchdowns and he's getting a lot of catches. So he's becoming very clutch. So not a huge day, but definitely enough points to get the win. Graceland, not a lot of points, as you can see, with a lot of people on buys. So that's sort of expected when you have a lot of big players on buys. Not much to fill in. The cluster, 0 points. Stephon Diggs, 0 points. Will Fuller, 1 point. Again, Will Fuller, great player. Brock Osweiler just sucks. If he was serviceable, the Texans would score tons of points, but he's just not. So Graceland just does not get it done. They fall to 3-2, so still a winning record. And Baltimore Riot, again, after going 0-2, now they're over 500 with 3 in a row. So, as always, fantasy is so unpredictable. NFL's unpredictable. I mean, the biggest lesson that I'm learning is that, I think I heard Mike Lombardi talking about how every year, because of free agency and everything, you're basically retooling your team every year. So a team like Carolina, you would think, well, gee, they're not going to get as much as they did last year, but they're still going to be decent. They're still going to probably win 10 to 12 games. And even before Cam Newton went out, they're 1-3, now 1-4. And then the Falcons, a good example of a team that nobody expected to do anything. All last year, I kept saying, I don't understand why the Falcons don't score more points. They've got all these skill players. They have Devontae Freeman and Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. And for whatever reason, last year wasn't scoring any points. But this year, they're scoring tons of points. And they go on the road and beat Denver. I'm actually not that surprised. I mean, Denver had a rookie quarterback. And so, anybody who thinks that they know what's going on in the NFL or makes these assumptions from week to week based on, some past pattern that happened in the past, you just can't go by that. It's just different every year, every week, different preparation, different injuries. And so that's why we love the NFL. And even though the games are sloppy, and when there's only one game on at night, you sort of notice how sloppy it is and how there's no flow and penalties and But when you're watching the Red Zone on Sunday, it doesn't matter because they just show all the good stuff. So that's why I watch the Red Zone channel. So this Sunday is my birthday. I'll definitely be watching all day. That's the one birthday present I asked for from my wife, was just to let me watch football all day. So I'm looking to do that. Let's take a quick look at the standings. Still pretty tight in the middle, so even the two 1-4 teams aren't dead yet. But of course, if you look at points scored for each division, that's a good way to tell if someone's getting either really good or really bad luck. So you can see the top two teams in scoring are also the top two teams. So the Mish division is perfectly aligned with who should be doing well when you see the point totals. It's the exact same order as the standings. And then you can look here and say, yeah, third and Oolongs, having probably had the toughest luck. They probably have the high points against because they have the second most points in the league, but they're 2-3. So most likely that's a points against issue. Of course, Mandarino's not doing too well either. They're having the combination of points against and not a lot of points for, but Doreen looks like she's just had a couple close losses. So as always, all you can do is put your best team in, get the most points you can. So still fairly early in the season. No one's completely out of it yet. We do have one 4-1 team injury risk, and everyone else is sort of bunched up in the middle. So thanks for listening. Thanks for your patience with the updates, and good luck this week with fantasy football. Have a good week, everyone.